Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L and welcome to My Hero Academia chapter 229. I'm really excited to talk about this chapter. It's also coming in super late. It's really late. So only thing you guys gotta know, I've only read through the chapter once. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna talk about the part that I really want to get to first, and then we'll just go back through and we'll go to the beginning of the chapter and talk about all the pages, because there's a lot of really interesting little things, or not interesting little things, there's a lot of really cool tricks that I noted it. So there were at least a few tricks. So let's just jump right into it. I want to go straight to good old Twice, because man, that final page, man, what, that was amazing. I really like it. Like, the art has been on point for the villains, and I've just enjoyed it. So I just want to say, like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna title something in the video, or sorry, I'm gonna title the video in a particular way. But for this chapter, or just for Twice in general, it's a great moment, man. It's a really great moment. Like, for me, the Twice is like that cousin that you have that says that he's gonna go to the moon on a broom, and he's gonna wear a fireman's outfit because he's a witch or something like that. And it's like, you know, you listen to him because it's your cousin, but you're like, okay, that's not gonna happen. That's kind of like what Twice is for me, because for Twice, you know, way back when Twice gave us his introduction, he was all like, you know, I don't know if I'm the real one, and that terrifies me. And I'm just looking at it, and I looked at Twice, I looked at his origin story, and I'm just like, what, Twice? What are you talking about? You crazy, man? And because it was like, to me, it made sense that the Twice that we had was the real Twice, because he got stabbed like right there in the face, right? He got a nice knife wound in the face, and you know, at the time they told us like, hey, the damage, they take damage and they go away. So I thought, all right, this is the real Twice. He's just crazy. And to be fair, he took a knife wound right in the head, so I felt like there was enough reason to justify him as being crazy. And then you had, like, you know, the moment with him telling Overhaul, like, he doesn't make copies of himself. And you take these two moments, and what it pretty much was just a massive setup. Because the moment that Twice finds out that he's the real one here, you know, all hell breaks loose, and it's amazing. It looks amazing. Like, the Twice jumping around is just amazing. So what I really want to say is, like, this is a great moment, because this is one of those moments where I myself was drawn into a false sense of security, kind of. It's not really security, it's more like just I was in a spot where I didn't even consider Twice's problems. Like, I just kind of disregarded him. And because I disregarded him, you get to have like this really, really amazing moment where the character comes through and it's like, whoa. Like, I wish I remembered this last week, or not really last week. When did I make the video? Like Saturday or something? I wish I remembered this. I wish I remembered that Twice thought he wasn't real. I wish I remembered that he doesn't make copies of himself because of his trauma. But he just kind of slipped into the back of my mind because there's so many other things going on. So, you know, bravo. Props to the author. That was awesome. I really loved it. Like, it was a nice long setup. From the very beginning that we got Twice and he gave us his thing. Like, that was just... it was a brilliant setup. I'm all for it. That was great, man. Absolutely. I absolutely love this chapter. And I'm sorry for forgetting you, Twice. I'm sorry for disregarding you. But I think that's good on the author. He made me just think Twice was crazy, and then I forgot all about whatever he did. It's unfortunate, too. Anyway, we'll go to the beginning of the chapter. I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but I'm at a different angle. Don't know if I already said that. I don't know if I did. Anyway, going back to the beginning of the chapter. So we'll do a page by page. We'll talk about which parts are really cool and which parts are... well, we'll just skip over any parts that aren't really important. Okay, so just for the record, I'm also using the Jaimini's box translation for this review. And given that the review just came out like a few moments after the actual chapter has come out, there might be a few mistranslations or a few translation errors in general. Just keep that in mind. We're going to go through. The first page that I'm going to talk about is page 4 on the box translation. So I love page 4 because for me, Skeptic is the gift that keeps on giving, because he just clears up a lot of my questions. And it's great to have a character that can clear up my questions. So you remember last week, I was just wondering if Well, one thing. I was wondering what exactly is the quirk. This week we get the answer. We don't get it from Skeptic himself, but Skeptic's on the page, so I'm going to take that as a victory. We just find out that, okay, they have Bubai Gawara model, twice model puppets. Alright, we got that. We got puppets of that, and then Reed Estro just throws in there, like, their companies are coming together to make the puppets, so they have absolute control over the puppets. Last week I wondered, okay, like, where did these guys get their information? And this week, well, Skeptic just flat out tells us he got it from Thingamabob Giran. Now, I didn't consider that as a possibility because, well, I didn't think Giran has such... Well, I didn't think he was such a record keeper. Like, why does he have all that information? I didn't... Look, man, when I think about villains, I feel like they are disorganized bunch of people. And I never really expect them to be really good bookkeepers. Because why would you? They're villains. You don't expect order in them. So, not gonna lie, that was a nice surprise. I totally respect that. That's cool, man. Good for them. So I love that I got that answer. Because that's much better than the complication that I was coming up with last week. Like, how did this guy find the information? Like, sometimes the simplest answer is the correct answer. Anyway, I do like that, but I will also throw in there, like, you know, when we first started this fight between these the villains and Reed Estro's army, you know, I was saying, like, it's unfortunate these guys aren't going to use their assets to the best of their abilities. Like I was talking about, like, those long cons, those long games, but in their defense, even though they are attacking the villains, like, head first, they are bringing in a lot of their gear. Like, they like... I expected that. I expected the author was going to try and make the best of their gear when it came to the full frontal assault. But this has been good. This has been good. I do respect how hard they're going in with it. At the very least, it's a pretty good compromise. So I'm pretty happy with that. You know, Skeptic, I think he's my favorite. I just like him. He just does a lot for me because he just explains a lot. And it is also funny that he's the one that explains a lot when he had a cow about not wanting to explain things. It's just funny. Anyway, moving on from there, special mention of this page 5. It just looked really disturbing. I feel bad for Toga. This is some pretty disturbing stuff. Now after that, we get a disturbing moment for Twice. He's splitting apart, and then we go straight into his flashbacks. So I'm personally a fan of Twice flashbacks, and, you know, getting a flashback here, I'm all for it. Although this reminds me of, like, what I talked about last week, in that, you know, I mentioned Mr. Compress, and I pretty much talked about, well, you know, are we going to get, or, you know, what kind of arc is this? And now with this week, you get Twice, and you get his moment, and you get his power-up. Or not a power-up, it's more like he's unleashing himself. I think this is very much, we are doing that type of arc where everyone goes into a fight and everyone grows from that fight. That's totally what we're doing. No doubt in my mind. So now I am very excited to look forward to Mr. Compress's backstory. That's the one that I really want, because before this, we already had a Twice backstory. Mr. Compress was the second one on my list. I'm solely happy that Twice is getting more to his backstory, but just knowing that this is the pattern that we're going with, I'm into it. I really hope that we get it. I want to get them for Dobby. Well, okay, no, Dobby's the one that I can do without, but I want to get it for Mr. Compress. I want to get it for Spinner. Give me those characters, and I am a happy camper. Yeah, as happy as I can be. Anyway, I'm pretty confident in that we're going to be getting, like, a lot of character development. And, you know, I want to just remind everyone that this is officially the Villain Academia arc. So, you know, given it's Villain Academia, you can pretty much expect the same kind of growth patterns that the kids have gotten for the villains. And another thing that I think should be noted, because I feel like most readers should understand this, but the reason the villains are having explosive growth is because they've never been trained the way that the kids have. I think that's self-explanatory. I think we should all be aware of that. But just in case we're not, that, like, I'm just putting that out there. Anyway, on page 7, according to Jemani's box ordering, one thing that I really want to point out, Actually, it wasn't page 7, it was page 8, my mistake, because the big line there. Page 7 is the setup and the premise. But there was one box, and I'll bring it up. It's the one that goes, like, you can always turn your life around. I'm sure the policeman didn't know, then again, neither did I, that for some, the first wrong step is the start of a slippery slope. So, the reason I want to bring up this page is because we've gotten a similar idea, if not the same idea before. And the person that we got that with was with Gentle when he was being interviewed at the police station. Now, the reason that I want to bring this one up is because this just reminds you of how much luck plays a factor. Because one of the things that the guy was telling Gentle was that he was glad that they got Gentle before he made the first big mistake. Because like after that first big mistake, you know, it's a lot harder to turn your life around. So, you know, it's very important to note what's going on here. Like, Twice had a policeman who thought that he could always turn his life around, right? He still had the chance to turn his life around. Whereas Gentle had a policeman who was effectively like aware of the slippery slope. Now, you know, which of those perspectives is bad? It's kind of hard to say. It's just, I think the bigger message to take away from this little bit, and I do want to point out that we are kind of really relying on the translation here. But the thing that I would say to take away from this is just luck plays a big factor. Anyway, the rest of the flashback is pretty much just Twice telling us about his life, just telling us about how he ended up being mixed up as a villain, telling us about what he wanted, who he lost. So that's all worthwhile. Honestly, in terms of content that you could really sink your teeth into, I don't think this is it. This is just exposition, and you know, to some degree there's only so much you can do with exposition. Now, after we go past that, we go into, I think, page 12 is the next big one. Page 11, page 12. Page 12 is just telling you, or just giving Twice the hope that there's more people like him, more people who are looking for their place in life, and more people who are on the wrong side of the law. Page 11 I find is the more interesting one, because in the bottom panel, Twice is specifically telling us what it takes to make someone disappear, what kind of damage they need, and he specifically says a broken arm. So the reason that I like that is because the author pretty much set it up within the chapter for you to get that payoff immediately after. So then we jump over to, let's see, right around page 14, page 15. So the big thing here is that Skeptic, the first thing he does, or when he grabs Twice with his puppets, he goes in and says to break his arms. So that was the best part there, because when I saw break his arms, I realized, okay, this is what the author wants to do. He wants to set up, or he wants to answer whether or not Twice is the real one or the fake one. So you know what? Good on you, author. So the moment he does that, I'm all ready for it, and then we go into the great moment of Twice realizing he's the real one, which was also, you know, mildly disturbing, because he's like realizing that he's getting hurt but he's not disappearing. I can only imagine the relief that he felt in that moment. But yeah, from there we end up where we began the video on. So that was cool. I really liked it. I think in terms of construction and pacing, I think this is a very nicely paced chapter. I think the author set up a pretty nice call and response. I really enjoyed it. On a technical point, I think it's a good chapter. In terms of content, we got a lot of exposition, but if you're a fan of Twice, I'm sure you'll like it. And it's not like this is useless information. This is good information. I really enjoyed it. Overall, I guess this is now my second read through. It's a really good chapter. I don't think, like, it doesn't have the most things to talk about, because really a lot of those flashback scenes are just like, oh man, it sucks for Twice that he has such a bad life. But I'm not gonna rate the chapter down just because of exposition. I think overall a solid chapter, exciting. When you look at it, it's kind of setup and kind of resolution. Like, it is resolving one of Twice's character points, I guess. But it is setup, because now we gotta see how is Twice gonna deal with, how is Twice gonna use his quirk properly next week? Because I'm looking at it now, and you look at his final words, and it's like he's gonna show them how terrifying he could be, and it's like, all right. Now the big question is, are we gonna learn new limits for Twice? Because are we gonna find out he has how many, a body limit? Can he only produce 100 bodies? I'm curious about that. So the next big question you can have is like, is Twice gonna be the one that kind of, well, how would you say this? Is he gonna even the odds? I think that'd be a little bit unrealistic to hope for at this point, but I'm all for it if he tries. At the very least, it's going to make some things easier. That said, Twice's abilities after a certain point, actually, we'll see. There's one ability from Twice that we haven't seen so far, and it's an ability where we saw it in a cover page where he seems to like split his arm. So he seemed to have had like 4 arms in that shot. So I think it's back during the summer camp. If you go back towards those chapters, like maybe right at the beginning when you had like the full color page of the different sides about to go to war, you know, that color page of Izuku. I'm sure you guys all know that color page. If you look at that color page, Twice had different arms. Actually, it's a video. I'll put it up. Is it there? I hope so. Anyway, any other little points that I might have missed going through the pages? Twice mentioned that he wasn't getting hit by Gigantomachia. It's good that the author put that in there. It's just, you put a Gigantomachia in there and it's just showing, okay, like Twice, this is an improvement. He's doing something that, now he is liberated. Yeah, he is liberated. He doesn't have constraints. So in a way, it's kind of like Twice was holding back this entire time. I think that's one of the bigger things you could take away from it. So far we've had Toga, who's just flat out discovered something new. We have Shigaraki, who I think is still kind of in a weird zone. And then we have Twice, who's just totally unleashed himself. I'm into it. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought down below. I think this was a strong chapter. I enjoyed it, but I might also be kind of loopy. I haven't slept in a while. Keep that in mind. Anyway, till next time. I hope you have an absolutely great day. I hope you enjoyed the chapter, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Also, hit that like button. Otherwise, I'm gonna throw a whale at you. Yup.